The mic.
Friend of the show, let's bring in Bryce Eldridge. Let's welcome in Lee Jung-hoo from Rocky Mountain, North Carolina. He wears number 65, Landon Root.
Well, I appreciate it, Bill. I always enjoy talking to you.
Let's welcome in Wade Boggs. Let's bring in Will the Thrill. He's the ace of the staff. Let's welcome in Logan Webb. Logan, how are you today?
Hi, I'm doing good. Good to be on here.
Welcome to Extra Innings with Bill Laskey.
Giants sweep the LA Dodgers.
Sponsored by Lunardi's Markets of the Bay Area. Quite simply the best. Right here on your exclusive home of the San Francisco Giants. KNBR, the sports leader.
Throws. Ground ball to third. Knocked down by Cross. It almost knocked him down. He recovers. He throws to first and gets him anyway. Wow.
Welcome into a Saturday afternoon extra inning post-game show with Bill Laskey as the Giants back up their win yesterday in extra innings, 7-6, and they open up the game today again in the third and fourth inning with two three-run home runs, one by Jung-Hoo Lee and followed up by Rafael Devers, and the Giants pull this one out 9-2. And as this could be the last outing by Robbie Ray. And, of course, Robbie Ray's been named to many, many trades. And, boy, he really pitched well today, going 6 innings, not giving up an earned run, 6 hits, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts. And he had everything going. He had the fastball going, the curveball going, the sinker, changeup. And I thought the array of pitches he did and the mix of pitches just made this outing even better if any scouts were there. To show the fastball about 94 to 92, the sinker was around 93, 91, and that's the kind of numbers you want, and the consistency stayed with these pitches through the 6 innings. He probably could have gone to 7th inning, but at that time he had thrown 80 pitches, 54 for strikes. And, of course, Tristan Beck hasn't pitched in over a week to 10 days. You saw him. He was a little troubled in that 7th inning, got out of it, and then Keaton Wynn, the other one, another pitcher that's having problems, got out there, and I think that's what Tony Vitello wanted, a couple of young arms just to get out there and pitch. They have not pitched in less stress games, and today was a good time to do that. And then he kind of emptied the bench in the latter part of the innings, and I think this is what you're going to see as the season continues. But we got to start off with Rafael Devers in these 2-game series. He's 5 for 8 with 8 RBIs and 2 home runs, and a clutch base hit today in the 3rd inning after Eldridge struck out to make it 2 outs. It was 1st and 3rd with 1 out. Eldridge strikes out, and Rafi Devers comes up with a base hit. Casey Schmidt follows with a base hit, and Jung-Hoo Lee follows with a 3-run home run. In the 4th inning, just the opposite. Rafael Devers comes up and hits a 3-run home run, his 22nd on the year. He's got 60 RBIs, and that was all the Giants needed to put away the Angels as they got 9 runs in 2 innings. And the offense did what they needed to do against a young pitcher named Ryan Johnson, a 23-year-old. They got to him, and they got to him in the 3rd and 4th inning and pushed him right out of the game. And it really was Robbie Ray and the offense, and this is what the Giants needed as they continued to try to win this homestand and won the series. Last time they won a series was against Colorado right before the All-Star break when they took 3 out of 4. And now they have an opportunity to sweep a series. They have not done that at all this year. And Carson Wisenhunt's going to get the start tomorrow. He'll probably be in the rotation moving forward as Trevor McDonald was I would say examined. Now he's going for another second examination, a partial ligament tear. We don't know if that's Tommy John or what they can do. I don't know the severity of it. We'll find out more, but he will be out of the year from pitching, and it's just a bummer because a 25-year-old showed a lot of good signs in some of his starts this year, and now he'll be gone. But now we get to see Carson Wisenhunt. We'll see him the rest of the year in the rotation. And you start looking at what Carson's done, and he's had a great year so far in AAA, 6-4 with a 4.15 earned run average and 82 1/3 innings. He's only given up 79 hits, 38 walks, 90 strikeouts. And the 2 games that he pitched in the big leagues, he won them both. He beat Colorado and Atlanta. The first game was at Atlanta where he went 5 innings, 6 hits, 2 earned runs, and he backed it up in Colorado where he went 5 2/3, only giving up 3 hits and 2 earned runs. So he's 2-0 with a 3.38. Tomorrow, 105, he'll be on the mound against Jose Soriano. a 27-year-old, one of the better pitchers the Angels have. He's 8-6 with a 3.43, and that will finish it up with a 3-game series with the Angels, and then Milwaukee Brewers come into town for a 3-game series. So today, a rise once again. A professional hitter, as I've continued to say, goes 2 for 4, hitting .326, had a nice RBI. Pristine defense again at second base. Starting to see some of the players that could be moved. You're hearing names from all over, from Ramos to Lee to Schmidt. And I said this last night on Sports Phone KNBR. You're going to hear a lot of this because most of your top-tier teams will start looking at lower base teams. And with those lower base teams, they'll start picking and seeing what general managers and presidents of baseball operations want in return. That's why I kind of say Robbie Ray's probably last start is today. Of course, if he doesn't, he'll be pitching in San Diego Thursday or Friday. And really, August 3rd is going to be your trade deadline. I just don't know if you really need to push him at that point. Just a great year he's had when you look at Robbie Ray, 116 and 2/3 innings. He's only given up 96 hits. He's got a 3.15 earned run average, 9-6. He won his 9th game today. 58 walks and 106 strikeouts. You can really itemize his starts even better than that in his last 7 starts. 483 and a third innings, and he's only got a 1.04 earned run average, and he's 4-0 in those starts. So a good left-hander, and he was a good Giants. He pitched really well coming over here with TJ. Of course, Farhan Zaidi brought him over, took up a couple guys up to Seattle, and Robbie Ray came back real well, and I was really proud to see how he pitched today. All right, 415-808-KNBR. Let's talk Giants baseball. Let's talk about what you think the Giants should be doing here and what you want them to take back in some of these trades, because we always want to hear what they're going to give up. But what are some of the preliminary things that you want back? Is it starting pitching? Is it an infielder, an outfielder? Could be even a catcher. There's a lot of holes on this team, so I'd love to hear your take. I'm Bill Laskey. This is the Extra Inning Post-Game Show. More coming up right here on KNBR.
The game may be over, but we know you want to talk more ball. So KNBR Extra Innings with Bill Laskey continues.
Sponsored by Lenardi's Markets of the Bay Area. Quite simply, the best.
We are KNBR 104.5 and 6.8, the sports leader.
2-2. He drives this one out towards left center field. Deep and gone! Devers opposite field power. Another home run for Rafi. That was a full swing. It's 9-0 Giants.
Back on Extra Innings with Bill Laskey as Rafi Devers back-to-back games with home runs. Yesterday, a 2-run home run. Today, a 3-run home run. But I thought the base hit in the third inning was a key point of that game. When they had first and third with one out, Eldridge strikes out, and Rafi came up with a nice base hit and extended that inning before Jung-Hoo Lee hit his 3-run home run, his 6th on the year. First home run he's hit since June 23rd. How about that? But Jung-Hoo Lee had a nice game today. He went 2 for 3 with 3 RBIs. Rafi again 3 for 4 with 4 RBIs. And really, that took pretty much of the offense for the Giants as they win this one 9-2. They're now 44-60 with one more game left with the Angels, and they could sweep a series. They have not done that this year. So we turn the page. Carson Whisenhunt on the mound tomorrow. Very happy to see him back up. He did a really nice job in AAA, and we'll see if he can add another win to his total as he's 2-0. 415-808 KBR. Let's get to the phone lines. Let's go out to Hawaii and talk to my buddy Bert. Bert, how are you on a Saturday?
Hey, I'm doing fine, Bill. How are you? How are you doing?
Well, I think about 8 days left. We're going to find out what Buster Posey is going to do with trades, and I'm sure you're probably thinking the same way, Bert.
Yeah, yes, I am. And actually, I'm in San Diego right now.
Wow, beautiful.
Here, and then I'm going to catch the 4 Giants games when they play San Diego here next weekend. So I'm looking forward to that and seeing. It's going to be right before the trade deadline. So.
Well, what do you think? Let me ask you this one, Bert. Do you think we've seen Robbie Ray the last start today? Do you think he'll have to go one more start? What are your thoughts on Robbie Ray?
Well, I mean, definitely Robbie Ray is going to get traded. I mean, Robbie Ray and Arise are definitely going to be traded. And so and hopefully the Giants can get 4 young major league ready players for those 2 guys.
I think Bert is going to I think it's really going to matter on where they go, what organizations are full of talent. Of course, Milwaukee needs a starting pitcher. That's a new name that's coming in for Robbie Ray. The Cubs also need starting pitching. St. Louis, if they're still in the hunt. All these probable places, you just don't know who's hot and who's cold with them.
Yeah, sure. But, I mean, if, we talk about Milwaukee, let's maybe somehow get Kyle Harrison back. I know he's injured right now, if I'm not mistaken. But, I mean, somebody young that has that potential, but we need 4 guys major league ready to come back. And you know what, Bill, I hate to say it, but even Logan Webb, they should really, 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 really look at trading Logan Webb and getting 2 more guys for him, 2 or 3 more guys.
Well, I think you got to look at also the minor leagues. Who's the strongest? And that's the Milwaukee Brewers, and they have a ton of talent in AAA and AA. And I think that would be a team you'd want to trade for, even though they're in the National League. Same thing with the Cubs, too. The Cubs are full of talent. I think that's kind of, if I'm Buster Posey, looking at where their strength is and what do they have coming up and what are the ages of some of these young guys. You see a lot of trade rumors with the Yankees, and they got some good guys in AAA and AA, which are fine. But I don't think you want to stockpile AAA guys that are going to be in Sacramento next year. I think you're right in asking for a Major League Baseball player that's ready. I think that's a key.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what they need. They need to get guys because, when we, Duvall and all of them, we got, Catcher Gonzalez, Jesus, and then we got nothing basically in return for, Duvall and even Rogers. So we need to get major league ready players in this trade. And like I said, so that's Robbie Ray, Arise, and again, they should really look at getting Logan Webb and get good.
Yeah,
young
another
major
one,
league
Bert.
players.
Elliot Ramos getting a lot of play, and then
Yeah,
also
yeah.
JT Brubaker and Sam Hedges, a couple of guys in the bullpen that you always, pick up a bullpen arm. You never have enough arms in a bullpen. Both of those guys are veteran pitchers, and they could be swapped with a couple minor leaguers to grab a couple of those arms, and why not, And
Sure.
I think the biggest thing is who is not available, and with the team, how it's slumping, the way they went backwards. I'm right there with you. I'm listening about everybody. Maybe Bryce Eldridge not. It's probably the only one.
Yeah.
I'm also thinking about something off the wall here, about a veteran catcher. Maybe a good backup catcher that could get an opportunity to be a starting catcher. I'm happy with Susac and Kavanaugh, but they're so young and they're inexperienced, and maybe you could find an experienced catcher.
Yeah, I agree. But again, we need players that are ready to play. We don't need prospects or AAA guys. I mean, and we can get them with Robbie Ray Arise. I mean, we can definitely get 4 players that can play. There's no reason why.
I tell you, Bert, it's amazing to me when you look at all the bottom feeder teams that are totally out of the wild card, and every team's got 3, 4, 5 guys that are in all the probable trades, and that's logical and most likely meaningful when you got teams that can't trade and build up the minor leagues or possible big leaguers. But we'll find out, Bert. But have a great time in San Diego. Maybe you can give me a call down there. But thanks for your call again, Bert, and safe travels. Let's go out to New Jersey and talk to Mitch. Mitch, you're on an Extra Inning post-game show. A lot of trade rumors out in New York. Is there anything coming our way?
Hey, doing, Bill. I think everybody's on the market except for Eldridge and Schmidt. You gotta like them. Ray's been around for like 13 years, not even 100 victories. So if somebody wants him, please take him. And Davis is hitting the heck out of the ball. He's definitely getting some prospects. And I say AA guys.
Yeah, I think you got to go a little higher than that. You got a good abundance of minor leaguers that are in AA and A ball that are, young, prosperous players, and I don't think you really need to load up there. I like what Bert, my last caller, said, some Major League Baseball players that are ready, that are eager to jump into big leagues, and that's what I think the overload's going to be. See who you need to build up the bullpen. I threw a catching idea out there today just now and seeing if they could find an experienced catcher that not an older type catcher, but somebody that could be a young, prominent catcher.
Aren't the best prospects usually in AA? And thank you for taking my call. I got to chase my grandson. I don't have what I had like 50 years ago. I can't keep up with him, Bill.
Well, Mitch, have a good
nice
day
night.
with your grandson. Thanks for the call. I just think when you start thinking about what teams and who you're going to trade with, and there's so many teams in the hunt, when you look at the American League, there are maybe only a handful of teams that aren't fighting for a wild card position. You can even look at the AL West, and you look at Texas, and they're one game over 500, and they're leading the West. So anything can happen. It's just what you want to trade and what you want to kind of include in your trade to get what you want in some of the holes you have. And we've been talking about pitching. We all know they're always looking for starting pitching. Now that McDonald's down, there's another slot open there. There are some guys in AAA that could fill it. But I think what they're trying to do is get another veteran pitcher, a couple names up in Seattle for sure, and then you start filtering through other teams. But I think it's the time now. You got 8 days left. August 3rd is the trade deadline. And we're starting to hear more and more rumors and more probables, and that's just going to add more to the punch here as we get through this next week and we get into next weekend. And, it's always been a way, even back in my day when you started pitching and playing, you waited till a certain point and all of a sudden the dominoes hit, and it's like 3 or 4 trades in one day. And as you get down to Saturday and Sunday, more trades. And then that day on Monday come, and you always catch in the last hour some quick trades where you trade a bullpen arm for a minor leaguer and you start clearing space. And I think that's what's going to happen when you look at Brubaker and Hedges, both guys that are pitching very well for the Giants out of the bullpen, but they'll be free agents at the end of the year. So you got to look at what your roster is and what you can snag back and forth. All right, 415-808-KNBR. We'll take a quick break, come back with more calls. We've got some calls coming in. I'm Bill Laskey. We'll take a quick break here and come back with more right here on KNBR, the sports leader.
You're listening to the former Giants righty. It's KNBR Extra Innings with Bill Laskey.
Sponsored by Lenardi's Markets of the Bay Area. Quite simply, the best.
Heard on your Apple HomePod by saying play KNBR.
Jung-Hoo Lee hits a drive to deep right field. It is gone! Up over the right field wall. 3-run homer for Lee. His 6th of the year. And now it's a big inning for the Giants. 5-0.
Back on Extra Inning Post-Game Show with Bill Laskey. Jung-Hoo Lee hit a 3-run home run, and that was in the 3rd inning to open up that inning as the Giants scored 5 runs that game in that inning. He went 2 for 3 with 3 RBIs today, and what about that throw from right field to third base? You know, you start thinking about what Jung-Hoo Lee has done in right field and how he's learned to play the wall and the cutouts, and even down the line. He tried to make one ball. It was right into the net, and he almost caught it where he caught the corner of the pole there. But I think he's just learned right field, one of the best. I mean, you keep going back to Randy Wynn when he played right field, Mike Yastrzemski. And in the beginning of the year, if you remember coming out of spring training when they signed Harrison Bader, you know, they asked him, Tony Vitello said, "You're going to play right field?" And he was fine with it. He goes, "No problem. I'll play wherever you want." And the next thing you know, they were playing that Mexican All-Star team, and he was out in right field. That was the first time he ended up playing right field consistently. And they shade him over a little bit more to right center field for Triples Alley. But what he's done in right field is this, you can't teach that. That's common knowledge, and how his ability to play right field is this how good of an outfielder he is. Cuts the corners well, hits the cutoff. And that's one thing. I mean, everybody's talking about all these players getting moved and traded, and that's one guy. I just don't want him to be traded. I think Jung-Hoo Lee fits this team real well. He loves San Francisco, and he's played so well. And this year, when you're looking at his numbers, he's hitting over 300 now. Came into today's game at 299. He's hitting 302, 6 home runs, 37 RBIs, playing pretty much every day. He's got over 360 at-bats, over 100 hits. So what more do you want out of Jung-Hoo Lee before you propose to trade him? I'd rather not. I'd like to see him here for a few more years and develop playing right field as one of the best right fielders. You know, your thoughts on that too, 415-808-KNBR. Make sure you put your alarm clock for 10:30 tomorrow morning as Major League Baseball introduces the new class of the Hall of Famers. And, of course, Jeff Kent will be there representing the San Francisco Giants. What a great career he had in the orange and black. Dusty Baker will be there. Kurt Reeder will be there. There's a bunch of ex-Giants that are going to be there, ex-teammates. Carlos Beltran also is going to be inducted. He had a short time with the Giants. Of course, he's going to go in as a New York Met. And Andrew Jones, one of the best center fielders that the Atlanta Braves have ever had. And he will also be inducted for the Atlanta Braves. So you got Jeff Kent, Carlos Beltran, Andrew Jones. And that starts at 10:30 tomorrow morning, Pacific Coast time, that is, on MLB Network. 415-808-KNBR. Love to hear your thoughts about Jung-Hoo Lee. We talk about him, but I haven't heard fans talk about how good of a player he is. And would you like to see him traded? Because I'd rather not. All right, let's go to Lincoln and talk to Lars. Lars, you're on an Extra Inning post-game show. How are you doing on a Saturday, Lars?
Doing great, Bill. How are you doing?
I'm good, Lars. Trade deadline's coming up. What do you got in the tank for me?
No, I think to keep Jung-Hoo, I want these contact hitters to hang around. I know Arise has a ton of value right now, but, I mean, we got to build around these guys who play the game the right way. And I just don't think Willie Adames is a winning baseball player. You know, with all the gas, the mental gas, and the swing and miss, I'd like to see him head out to a place like Chicago. Needs a shortstop, you know, independent race, and you know, 4 of our 5 top prospects are shortstop, middle infielder guys. So, you know,
right.
these contact guys we have are great guys to build around.
Yeah, another team that's really high on Willie Adames is the Boston Red Sox. Trevor Story went on a 60-day IL, and their shortstop right now has got a big question mark on it. And why not trade him back to Boston? You know, we took Devers' contract, let them take Adames' contract, be back and forth. Red Sox have a lot of young talent in their minor leagues too. It's just about what is coming into us. What would you like to see, Lars, that if Buster Posey trades for this, what would you like to see what we get back?
Well, I mean, honestly, with it, I realize he's not on an expiring contract, so it's tougher. You're not going to get a ton, but I don't really care at this point. I just don't think he's a winning ball player, and some young arms, some guys who we can work into a late inning closing type role. I don't need big league ready players for that. Maybe getting rid of Robbie Ray, which is all said and done at this point. You get a big league ready player, but I just want Adames off the team.
The other name you just mentioned, Robbie Ray, do you think that's the last start we see in a Giants uniform? Do you think they'll push him one more start? Because for me, I don't think one more start's going to help him or hurt him. I think right now you get your best value, especially how he threw today.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the last month or two, about a 1.08
Yeah, his
ERA,
last seven starts, 43 in the third innings, 1.04. That's pretty damn good for a left-hander. He struggled in the beginning of the year, and his overall numbers, when you look at 9 and 6 with a 3.15 earned run, is very impressive. And it's just, if he had another year or two on his contract, we'd probably keep him. But being a free agent, he'll walk and he'll try to get a good deal. I think that's the biggest thing, Lars, when teams pick up some of these free agents. Are they willing to sign him after they bring him in?
No, exactly. I don't think you need to push him one more. I mean, he's shown enough to everybody out there that he's ready to go for the next couple of months.
So, Lars, are you open to see like a Casey Schmidt or an Elliot Ramos get traded? Are these two players that you'd like to see in the future in a Giants uniform?
I'm fine. I'm kind of indifferent on Ramos. If he goes, that's fine. I don't know what you'd get for him. Schmidt's shown so much this year that he can work himself into spot starts at shortstop, second base or third base, and then Chapman's the other guy. I realize, he's a little more difficult to move like Adames, but kind of indifferent on Chapman as well. Just I think we're going to compete in 2028. So, if we can keep Devers and Eldridge around for the pop, got a couple contact guys in Jung Hoo and Arise around that. Definitely want to keep Webb as well, and I think we'll be in a good spot. Not next year, but 2028.
Well, we're 8 days out, Lars, and we'll find out if any of your predictions are going to be right and see if Willie Adames is going to be our shortstop in the future or if they're willing to pick him up. But thanks for the call on the Saturday afternoon. I appreciate your intake. Lars has a lot of good things right there, and I think a lot of fans are maybe disappointed in how Willie Adames has been playing and his lackluster more or less an interest in the game and how he just kind of waves away and wants to joke around. And I think the focus is, what Giants fans aren't really happy about. And that's something that he has to change. That's something that he has to persist in working out some of these things. You don't have to be the mayor of baseball to greet everybody when you get to second base. And when you get to first base, you don't have to talk to every first baseman. Some of this is exaggerated. And I think some of this has to be cut out if you get some kind of focus back on the field. And Willie Adames definitely has to do that. All right, let's go to San Jose and talk to Bar Fighter on a Saturday edition of Extra Innings. How are you doing this afternoon?
Prime time. Hey, to all my Bi-Party fans, you can check me out at SJ. Follow me at SJ Bar Fighter on X.
Let me ask you, Bar Fighter, what do you post up there? Do you kind of follow the game? What are some of your tweets you throw out there?
Yeah, I throw out a little bit of humor, a little bit of mainly just essentially just generalized concerns about the Giants. And my thinking is, and you threw the question out earlier, and we can agree to disagree and still leave as friends, prime time, but my thinking is sell, get as many young arms as possible, and Randy Wynn can figure it out.
You give it to Randy Wynn and Kyle Haynes and say, here you go, man. Here's 15 guys. Figure it out, right? They're the player development.
Yeah. Well, that's his job, right? That's his duty. But yeah, my thinking is, and you posed the question earlier. The centerpieces are essentially Aldridge, Schmidt, and I really love Jung-Hoo Lee. You know, that guy is awesome in the outfield.
Now, let me ask you, Barfighter, you know, he's taken over right field, and here's a guy that really usually played center field. He's played the corners, but you know as well as I do, as a lot of the fans do, right field here at Oracle Park is very difficult to play. The corner, the bricks, the knothole holes out there, and then you got the high edge of the bricks where it bounces, and then you got right center field. I think he has played immaculate. I really do, for a guy that's never played out there. And I threw some of the names from Randy Wynn to Mike Yastrzemski, some of the best outfielders that played right field, and I think he's up there.
No, he's got all the configurations, and plus, you know, I mean, in that ballpark, you have to contend with the wind also. So he's getting it pretty figured out.
What about his throw today when he threw the guy out at third base from first base, and the ball was in front of him? I didn't have a clue where the runner was going, and he nailed him. And that's the other thing. I think he's got an above-average arm. What do you think about his arm?
Oh, he's a smoker. I mean, that was a smoker. He smoked it right to where he had to put it at. It was pretty awesome.
So when you say assets you want in a deadline, assets, are you willing to trade a younger player like Casey Schmidt or another possible name, an Elliot Ramos? Would you be willing to trade a younger player that you have pretty much 2-3 years on? Schmidt's going to go for arbitration. Really, you got Ramos for a couple more years. I think that's what you kind of look at also, and how many more years you have them before they really get that big money. Do you look at that in a trade?
Like I said, I think the centerpieces of this team is Eldridge and Schmidt and Jung-Hoo Lee. So that's the future of this team. And what I want is to get as much young pitching talent as possible, because you know, we've just discussed it. This stadium and, you know, the whole configurations of it, it's basically based on pitching.
Sure is.
That's the only way. You know, I mean, you can have, unless you have a Barry Bonds, a heavy lifter like Marty Lurie used to say, you have to have pitching.
Yep. Well, you know, you say pitching, right? And you have all those Vita Blue bobbleheads in front of you. He's probably nodding his head because he always said that.
They're all nodding. They're all nodding at me right now. You know what? Prime time, when I'm on the waiting call with you, he's just nodding, agreeing with me.
Of course he is. That's one thing he always said on TV and radio. He'd look at me and I'd say, who do you want? He goes, pitching. You never have enough pitching. And he's 100% right, because guys go down. Look at McDonald. All of a sudden, he's got a partial ligament tear. Now we're going to see Carson Wisenhunt. I'm excited to see Carson. Have you seen him much? He's only pitched a couple games. Are you excited to see the lefty?
I believe that there's some future there. I really see some pretty developing talent in that arm of his.
We'll find out. He's pitching tomorrow, Barfighter. But you have a great Saturday night. It's always a pleasure talking to you, my friend. And you know what? You're a part, Lunatic Fringe, right? We salute you.
Still a proud and long-standing member of the Lunatic Fringe. And to all the lunatics before me, I salute you.
There you go, Barfighter. Have a great Saturday night, my friend, and enjoy your night. All right, we'll take a quick break on the Extra Inning Post-Game Show. 415-808-KMBR. Tell me what you think about some of these players that are in rumors of being traded, and what do you want in return? Because I'm hearing all about pitching. Is there a position player, or is there a position you'd like to see filled? My name's Bill Laskey. We'll be right back on KMBR, the Sports Leader.
This is KNBR Extra Innings with former Giants right-hander Bill Laskey.
Sponsored by Lenardi's Markets of the Bay Area. Quite simply, the best.
Hear him on your Apple HomePod by saying play KNBR. Play KNBR.
I think if you play a long enough season, I get sometimes back and forth that I talk to you guys about this or John before when we do pregame, but I think it was John and I just talking. If you give the guy a whole body of work, it's going to show up on paper who Rafi is, and if you just go off a month or a couple weeks, it depends on where you catch him at. So I think overall it's Rafi being Rafi, if you will, but also I think his swing has really gotten compact, especially with 2 strikes and making adjustments. He's always going to swing hard and be aggressive with it, but right now it seems to be a good balance of loose. He's loose and in doing it, and instead of just at times maybe being a little too out of control, but he's maintaining that natural aggressiveness he has.
Back on KNBR with Bill Laskey, Tony Vitello talking about Rafael Devers, his last 2 games. 5 for 8. How about that, with 8 RBIs, 2 home runs, a 2-run home run yesterday, a 3-run home run today, and, of course, the game-winning hit yesterday where they got it in the bottom of the 10th inning. It's really strange because you looked at how the scorekeeper played that, and I had Steve Kroner on last night. We were talking about it, and he did some scorekeeping. And the ball ended up bouncing on the warning track into the stands, and you would think it was a ground rule double because those bases loaded, you get 2 RBIs, but they call it a single, and they only give them 1 RBI, which is kind of strange. But if you hit a home run, then you'd get all 4 because it would be a grand slam. Some different points. I think you could argue a lot of that. Of course, Arise never scored. He just went to third. And Rodriguez ended up winning the touch and home plate. But you start thinking about the different ways scorekeepers can make an RBI and 2 RBIs. I still agree with so many hitters when you hit into a double play and the run scores, you don't get an RBI. I still think that's taken away from the hitter. Even though you hit into a double play, you're still getting that run in by making contact. I still think you got to look at the scorebook and the way some of these rules are and start questioning some of the judgment calls. And, of course, you're going to love this. And I just can't stand a ghost runner. I just get so upset every time. It goes into extra innings. And as an ex-pitcher, to see a pitcher lose a game with a runner on second base and nobody even gets a hit and he gets the loss, it's just one-sided to the offensive side of the game. And I understand you're moving the game faster and better, but I think there's a way that you can change that where maybe the 10th or 11th inning you play normal extra innings, and then if it gets into the 12th inning, then you can put your ghost runner on there. Just my opinion. I'm throwing it out there. All right, let's get back to the phone calls. 415-808-KNBR. Let's go to Gary. He's in Daly City. Gary, you're on an extra inning post-game show. What do you got for me today, Gary?
Hey, Bill. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Good win. Good games today and yesterday, but at the same time, 2 a little late. When do you say that? And just love to see some good baseball, and that's what we've seen the last 2 days.
Yeah, I think the 2 areas, they should have done is the beginning, but could have, should have, would have, bullpen. I mean, you can look at that's the one thing I remember when Bochy took over. I asked a great friend of mine down in San Diego. He said he'll work it out, but they'll figure out the bullpen, and Sabian did. Mm-hmm. You could think about 7, 8, 9 more wins if they had a bullpen. Just a confidence for a new manager to go down there. Nothing's lights out. Every guy in the bullpen, every closer has their blow-ups. We all know that, and the setup guys, and even, But just to go get some guys down there, nobody's going to give up anybody now because all the teams need their guys in the bullpen.
Right.
But, that's one area where they could have, Posey should have, somebody should have given him a wake-up call on that.
Well, the other thing, too, Gary, in the beginning of the year when they came out of spring training, I was one of the only guys saying, where's the bullpen? What roles do these bullpen guys have? And nobody knew. Even when you started against the Yankees, nobody knew what inning they were coming in or roles. And I said it, and then Jeremy Affeld was talking about it also on KNBR. He goes, who's the long man? Who's the middle guy? Who's the setup guy? Who's your closer? And nobody had a definition except Ryan Walker's your closer. But when he went down, there was no backup plan. And for Buster Posey not to have a backup plan in the bullpen or even have division of the bullpen knowing where guys were, I thought that was a deficit for this team coming into the season.
Especially when you have Bochy upstairs. When you have you have guys like that, certain guys you can lean on. That you're the beginner, and you have these other guys like the old journeyman that you can go up to Bochy and says run teach me a lesson what to do, and learn from them. I want to talk about Arise real quick.
Sure.
I understand, the contract. Now compare him to Adamas. Arise is like your old journeyman union worker. Shows up to work every day, collects his paycheck, produces, low maintenance, does everything you want. Switch to second base, no complaints. Learn how to play the position pretty well thanks to Ron Washington, and the guy you want on your team. And then he can look over at the shortstop, seeing what he gets paid, and say, wait a second now. Why not? I mean, unless you get a deal to knock your socks off, write it out. If you lose them at the end, you get some choices. But try to work out a contract for the guy. That's a giant. That's a guy you want on your team.
Well, Gary, let me throw this one to you. He is a free agent at the end of the year. Maybe they do trade him, and before you trade him, you go into the office and say, look, we got to trade you. It's a business move. But we're going to come back at you to play second base next year, and we'll give you a 3-year contract, and we want you to be first in line to understand we want you back in this position with us. It may work both ways. It could, but again, you got to make sure that he understands. He wants to be here. John Shea, of course, wrote a great article about him, and he said, no, I would take an offer here. But he understands the business side. He's 29 years old, a 3-time batting champ. That's if I'm Buster Posey and I'm moving him, I'm going to have a sit-down one-on-one and saying, look, we're moving you because of this reason. We're not going to get into the wild card, but we want you back, and we're hoping that that door stays open.
Well, I agree with that, Bill, but why not do it before you make – but see if we make an – I know the ball's in his court where he's got the aces in his hand, so he can wait till the end of the year and get offers from everybody else too. But why not try to make him offer before the trade deadline and say, hey, I'm just throwing it out 3 years, $60 million.
I would
money,
do it. I would offer it too. He's making $12 million now, so you could even offer him $15 for 3 and up it a little bit. I just think the writing's on the wall. I really do. I think that they're going to get some offers from the Yankees, Tampa, Atlanta, a couple other teams that are open to get him. And they're probably going to get, maybe 3 players back. But we don't know what's going on in those front offices. All we can do is speculate. But everything you hear, it's Robbie Ray, Luis Ariz, and others. And I'm right there with you. The fan base is definitely real happy to see him play at second base.
Okay, take care, Bill.
Gary, thanks for the call. Let's go to Fremont, talk to Paul. Paul, you're on an extra inning post-game show. What's going on, my friend?
Hi, Paul. Bill, can you hear me?
I can hear you very good. Thank you.
Okay. Nice to talk with you again. I'm going to call with a very specific question, and I will listen to you on the air.
All right.
First of all, I've been working all day in my garage in Fremont and listened to the Giants game, and it was wonderful listening to the win.
Mm-hmm.
But my specific question is about Harrison Bader. And Posey traded for him or brought him on board, and I had really high expectations for him because I recognized he was a great center fielder, outfielder, and had a good bat. But I've really been disappointed that we haven't seen any of him this season, and I consider him to be the biggest dud of the acquisitions that Posey made.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wondering whether he is tradable. I know he's on the injured list right now, and I just can't understand why we brought on a player that can't perform on the field to the expectations of the fans. And so I would like your insight as to what we can do with this acquisition. Thank you, and I will listen to you on the air.
Yeah, thanks for the call, Paul. And that's a valid point. Harrison Bader signed a 2-year free agent contract for $10 million for 2 years. $10 million this year, 10 years, $10 million for next year. He has a foot injury, and he's getting a second opinion. And the latest news is that he could be back at the end of the year, and he could possibly be traded. He had a great time in Philadelphia. Philadelphia is looking for some right-hand hitting with power and defense, and that could be a possible minor trade if they pick up his contract. It has been disappointing because if you remember out of spring training, and I had talked about Jung-Hoo Lee going to right field, they had Harrison Bader as the starting center fielder because he was so damn good in center field. He had a Gold Glove, and this was a guy that was going to maintain right center field, left center, and he did. And the games that we saw him play, which was maybe about 17 games if I'm not mistaken, he has not played much and hit home runs. You remember the grand slam he hit? There was times where he shined in a Giants uniform, but boy, oh boy, he's been a ghost. We haven't seen him, talked to him. He hasn't been. I've seen a couple pictures on X with some fans, and he definitely is in there. I mean, he's got to show up. He's got to do some rehab. But right now, they're saying he's looking at a foot doctor for a second or maybe third opinion, and we'll see where it goes. But I'm right there with you, Paul. Disappointing on the signing. Disappointing on what he did to help this team, and all we can do is see if he's going to get healthy, if he's going to play with this team, or possibly get traded. But that's pretty much all I can say because I'm reading reports just like you are, Paul, and we'll find out where Harrison Bader moves on here in the next couple of weeks. Let's go to Fresno and talk to Todd. Todd, you're on a Saturday post-game show with Bill Laskey. How are you, Todd?
Doing well. Thank you for taking my call. So I've been saying this, and I'm looking at it. The Cardinals used to have a guy, I want to say his name was Kissel. They had a standard operating procedure of how they develop their players. And I think the Cardinals have only had 1 year in the last 50 years they ever came in last place. And I just kind of look at this, and I'm like thinking, great, we're going to make a trade for guys. Are we developing anybody? I mean, you can't tell me all those arms that the Giants have in the bullpen are just terrible. They're big league arms. What are they doing to develop these guys to get guys out?
I think the biggest thing right there, Todd, is what are they throwing? What is their arsenal feature? Is it more than one or two pitches? And you start seeing like a Keaton Wynn today. He was so good in the beginning of the year and developing as a second guy. It could be a reliever to set up the closer or even had some closing experience. Today, he just looked lost out there. He couldn't throw a fastball. His split finger was all over the place. And then you start looking at Tristan Beck, and I know a lot of people on X were, Tristan Beck, get rid of him. The guy hasn't pitched in 7 or 10 days, and you can't be sharp. The second inning, it was sharp, but it takes that flavor to get back on the mound. And these young pitchers you're talking about, I would love to see them develop a little bit more. You go down in AAA, AA, and Single A, these guys have been developing. They're moving up each step. But it's that AAA to the big leagues, Todd, and you and I are both talking the same thing. What makes a big league pitcher once you come from AAA to the big leagues? What adjustments do you think they need to make?
Well, one I'm going to tell you that when I see guys hitting changeups like nobody's business, that's because they throw the changeup too hard. These guys are throwing 97 and they're throwing changeups 92. Well, that's really not a changeup. Here's the other thing. Explain to me how the Milwaukee Brewers continually, now they've got pitching, but continually are able to be at the top. The Tampa Rays have 60 wins. I couldn't name one guy on their team. I mean, we are not going to buy a team. The Giants are not in it. If they're going to buy a team, they'll lose every time because the Dodgers will. They have to go back to developing and having a philosophy. You know, it's funny. It's interesting because they drafted a guy, the 19th pick. It's actually my neighbor. His name's Mikey Bell. That kid hit 370, I think, for the last 10 years that I've known this kid. He was Player of the Year in the WCC at Gonzaga 2 years in a row. Before that, he was at Cuesta. He was Player of the Year there. Georgia offered more money than the Giants were willing to pay him. So he's going to the University of Georgia.
That's the NIL number, and that's where I just read that, where he refused the dollar amount from the Giants, and he went into the portal, and Georgia picked him up. Boy, I didn't understand the money part. That's a big plus right there.
Can hit.
He's a hitter.
Kid can hit. I played high school baseball, and Mike Aldretti was in our program, and so was Pete Incaviglia. I'm not saying this guy's going to be those two guys, but he can flat out hit. Not to mention he was a quarterback that took his team to the States. He's an athlete. And
I was just going to say that he sounds like a pure athlete. A second baseman too, and Gonzaga had a great program. They did really well this year. They lost in the tournament, but here's a player that refused the Giants' offer, and man, that just opens my eyes right there with that NIL money. And Georgia went out and got him, and now he's going to be a good player with the Bulldogs.
Yeah, so it's just, I mean, more than anything, Bill, I just want to see these guys. They did. There was a time where they developed. When you saw Will Clark, Mike Aldretti, Richard, all these guys coming up. They were all developed. Matt Williams. They were guys that were being developed. I mean, it's.
Well, and the same thing, Todd, you could talk about the pitching side for Madison Bumgarner, Lincecum, Kane, Sanchez, all the guys that went every step up. I still have a picture on my phone when Madison Bumgarner and Buster Posey were walking in from the bullpen in San Jose, and they were both looked like they were 19 years old, the young faces of both of them. And I watched that from them development, as you're talking about, going each level up. And that's why on my shows, I'm sure you've heard me interview minor leaguers. And I love doing that because I want to know a little bit about them and their character and how much they're into it and how much they're working at it. That's why I love doing interviews with some of the minor leaguers to find out who they really are.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But it's, that, look, we're not going to be in it. This team will never be able to buy a team. They got a roster build. That's why I would not be big on getting rid of a Rise. Because if you're going to go and get me 3 players, you got to prove to me that, one, you can make the right decision on the players, and then the other thing is that you can develop them, or it's just a waste of just getting rid of them.
I agree.
I build it around Rise, Schmidt, Young-Ho Lee, and Eldridge. I'd build it around.
And the other thing too, Todd, being an ex-player, and you'll know this too, is who's the next guy up that's going to fill that position, and can they fill it, or you're just going to throw a bag of players to fill in, because you're giving up a superstar player, a 3-time batting champ, and he's played outstanding second base. He's worked at it. That's where he wanted to play, and I love the gentleman called, and he said he's just a hard ironclad player. He comes every day with his lunch pail, gets his work done. You never see any argument of anything from him, and he's constantly teaching in the batting cages. And I've heard this from many coaches and players. He wants to help younger players, and you don't find players like that. You don't find them. Sometimes they're a me player.
Their best acquisition, believe it or not, was Ron Washington.
Oh, yeah. No doubt. Well, he's been a good friend of mine. I played a couple years with him. I played winter ball with him. I've known Ron for many years. He's got a heart of gold, and boy, his mindset is so built in baseball and how he teaches, and he teaches it just like a professor on the field, talks very plainly, explains it to you, works with it, and you see the outcome. Everybody he works with, you can go all the way back to the A's, the Braves. They all rave about him because he's a fantastic teacher.
Yep, he's not teaching any trick methods either. He's just very, very basic, and you learn how to field ground balls and play defense behind him. But anyway, thank you for taking my call.
Yeah, Todd, thanks for the call. Let's go to Santa Clara and talk to Chris. Chris, you're on an Extra Inning post-game show. How are you doing today?
Hey, it's a beautiful day. We went to the game yesterday, my college son and I, so it was a...
that was an exciting game, huh? That was fun.
Yeah, and it was a very, very, very exciting game. In some ways, one reason I'm calling is it was almost a little bit too exciting. When I think it really underscored everything that you've been saying. I was, chatting with my kiddo just as the game was going on and saying, this is the stuff Bill's been talking about. And, I'm curious how many years you think it's going to take realistically for the Giants to be, at least a top 6 or 7 pitching team out of the 15 in the National League.
Well, Chris, when you look at a pitching staff, it's not like 10 pitchers when I played. It's 13 pitchers, and you got a bullpen of 8. You got starting of 5. I always look at my starting pitchers. Do you have a solid 5? We don't. No, we don't. And now that McDonald might go get a TJ, now you're short 1. You're short with Birdsong. So 2 of your young pitchers that are 25 or less aren't going to pitch for over a year. So how are you going to build it? You're going to have to get an experienced starting pitcher. So you have Logan Webb. You don't have Robbie Ray anymore. Who else do you have in this rotation that you can say is a veteran guy that could feed into it? Not too many right now. There really isn't. Landon Root may fit into that. Maybe Carson Wisenhunt. So you got to first start with 5 starting pitchers. Then you got to look at this bullpen and divide it up like I've always been saying the whole year. Who's your long man? Who's your middle guy? Who's your setup guy? And who's your closer? And who's your backup closer? That's how I would devise a pitching staff, and I would put it on a whiteboard, and you start dividing everything up on what could fit in, what do you need here, and I think that's the way any college coach does it, any high school coach does it. You divide up the pitching staff, and what is your need? And right now, I think you have many needs for this staff.
And so part of what we were chatting on the train coming back yesterday was is Tony going to be able to survive the next 2 years of not getting up to that level of having enough pitchers? Because I think the Giants have to make a decision. Do they really want to go ahead and take some of their best players right now and make some trades, whether it's now or at the end of the season? They're going to bring in sufficient pitchers, exactly how you just described it. Or are they going to, realize, hey, this is going to be a long, run, and maybe he takes 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, and to realize that Vitello is effectively a caretaker who is not going to be around to harvest what comes forward, because if they don't fix this by the end of the 28th season, are they realistically going to extend him for another 2 to 3 to 4 years to kind of give it a second go-round?
Yeah, and one of the things, Chris, that I kind of scratch my head a lot is when I hear it's not Tony's fault. And I managed. I did high school. I did college. I had teams that weren't good. I had teams that I got, from the other coach. But you got to teach, and you got to learn the game. That's why I'm not all in by it's not Tony's fault. Tony's been a manager at Tennessee for many years. What he has to learn now is different parts of the big league game, and the big league game is a lot of the bullpen. How do I use the bullpen? When do I use the bullpen? Well, you got Ron Washington sitting next to you. You got Dusty Baker, Bruce Bochy, and many others that can help you, but I don't know if he's reaching out for that help. And as a pitching coach or a manager, don't you want help to help you get over some of it?
I think you're right on. I mean, you're on point. I think, what we were kind of figuring is just trying to plan out. It's like, do the Giants really think they're going to be competitive in 2028? So let's say even next year's kind of weird. Who knows what's going to happen? But is the goal, listen, postseason 2028, or is the goal, no, next year in 27, try to get up to around 79, 83 and consider that a big improvement over this year. And then maybe in 2028, you get a couple games over 500, kind of nibble around it, but that it really may not be till 29 or 30 until you are back really competing for postseason. And
I don't know if do you really think it's going to take. Do you really think, Chris, it's going to take 3 years to 4 years to 5 years to try to regroup with this team? Do you really think that?
There's nobody. I mean, I think you just described it. There's no pitching. I mean, I've been to 11 games.
Yep. That's where you really got to develop. You got to. There's so many things you got to develop.
Unless you're going to trade Eldridge. Now, if they're wanting to say, listen, we're gonna bite the bullet. We're going to trade Eldridge and get 5 decent arms, 3 that can pitch now, 2, maybe 3 who are top notch, but we're going to, have them right on the AAA level or right below, and say, listen, we're going to go all in on that because. Really, what my kids and I were talking about yesterday is that Eldridge is being set up to be the next Mike Trout, that he's going to be a good, solid player on a team that isn't going anywhere. And he can't carry this by himself if you have 6-1 leads and you're constantly losing him. If the Giants if the Angels didn't suck more than the Giants yesterday, the Giants wouldn't have won that game. I mean, it was the Angel. You talk about like mistakes that Kirk Suzuki made as a manager and the things that team did. It was a mess.
It was,
and
it really was. You can see him as a rookie manager making these mistakes, and he's done it all year. They fried him down. They fried him down in L.A. And some of the articles I've read and some of the post-game shows that he talks about. It is so difficult, Chris, when you're putting players and managers in that same clubhouse where you don't know each other. And I think that's one of the biggest things that Tony's trying to develop in that clubhouse, not just a friendship, but to believe in him. And to believe in him, you got to have wins. To believe in him, you got to show him that I'm behind you. And even though you had a bad game, you might be disciplined from it. And I think that shows me more confidence. And that's what I haven't seen.
You also don't throw a cookie down the plate when you're up by 2. It's one thing you give up a single, but the other's like, hey, by the way, let's pretend we're in Little League. I'm going to throw it by you. Well, okay, suddenly it's a tie game. It's interesting. It was fun. I mean, the Giants came back. The Angels, spun in the top of the 10th, and
right.
Okay.
And how much did the bullpen do that in this last road trip?
What are they going to do? I just don't see they have the talent to trade to get the pitching staff they need to compete at a National League level, unless they really go and get it, right? And
Yeah.
who are they going to trade? I mean, Arias. I mean, what are they going to get? Give me a break. They're going to get a few little throwaways that are going to help a little bit. Is that going to solve the problem?
No, it's not. And that's what I keep saying. That's why I threw it out there. What are you looking to get? Because you're not going to get a ready, built big leaguer. You might get a fourth outfielder. You might get a fourth infielder. You might get a backup catcher. You don't think a first or second place team is going to give you their best players? Absolutely not. They're trying to grab one of your best players and give you a few prospects. And I always say, well, if they're prospects, how come they haven't been in your big league team yet? I want to know if somebody has given you a chance. If I'm the Yankees, why haven't you given those two pitchers you want to give me? You need pitching. How come they haven't even got an inning in the big leagues? There's ways that you can go around and find out how good they are, and it's not all analytics and it's not all stats. That's what I'm real interested in to find out what's going to happen here in the next 8 days, Chris, and we're going to see possibly the direction of what this team's going to do moving forward. But you got some valid points today, Chris, and thanks for your time for calling. Let's go to San Francisco and talk to Charlene. Charlene, thanks for holding on. I appreciate your call today.
Hi, Bill. It's an honor to talk to you.
It's a pleasure to talk to you, and I thank you for holding on to talk to me. I appreciate that.
Oh, sure. My blood pressure is up the whole time because I've never called before, but I'm just really very passionate about Luis Ariz. I watch the Giants or listen to them on the radio every single game. And, I noticed when Luis Ariz came on and he was so consistent and so steady, I just, and maybe it's my imagination, but it seemed like the team just suddenly started getting better. And, and it's proven. I mean, he's an all-star player. Just his story of learning second base and becoming the second base, backup all-star, which is pretty amazing. But he's leading, he's like number 2 or number 3 in batting average in all of baseball, and he's got the second or third in hits. I hate to say this, but I just can't imagine. And he seems like such a leader. All the comments that I hear you guys say, and because I'm always listening to your ideas, he's such a leader, and like the Gary was saying earlier, I agree with him completely. He's such a steady guy, and he's so positive, and he's there to help people. And I just can't see a solid, great baseball team like, the team down in LA getting rid of a player like this, And my question to you was going to be, what scenarios do we have with Buster possibly keeping him? But you described that to Gary by saying that he could take him aside and tell him we're gonna offer you a contract later on. So I just wanted to hear more about what the possibilities of them keeping him are.
One big thought I had, Charlene, and I was thinking about this the other day, and if you happen to trade Willie Adames or Matt Chapman, and they both have no trade clauses, that's 2 big contracts or 1 big contract that you could overload and keep Luis Ariz. I'm right there with you. What he's done this year as a staple player, a foundational player, and I've said it many times, I've been in that ballpark, and I can get to go down and see where he's hitting in the cages and what he does and how he talks to people, and he's always polite to people. He's the type of guy you want on your team. He's not a troublemaker. He's not a guy that's going to blame everybody else. He's the guy that wants to get better. Looking at the numbers you talked about, 127 hits already this year. He had his 39th multi-hit game. That tells you everything right there, doesn't it, Charlene? We don't have a player like that. There's nobody that's capable of doing what he's done in the time he's been here with the Giants. I haven't seen a player like this for years, and I'm right there with you, as well as a lot of Giants fans. And you start looking at 2 sides of the coin. One's the business side, and one is the emotional side of fans loving Luis Ariz and him wanting to play here and stay here. And it's really going to be a division on what Buster Posey wants. Buster Posey brought him in, and he had other opportunities with other teams, but he wanted to play second base. And Buster said, "You're my second baseman. Come here." You gave him a $12 million contract, and I really believe $12 million for him, he could easily be making $15 to $20 million on just what he proposes, what he does on the field, and how much you watch him, how much I watch him, how much I analyze him. He's a professional hitter and a professional player. So what do we do? What does Buster do? What does he look into the mirror and say, okay, what do the fans want? They want him. They want him to stay here. And I think that's what he has to look at, too, is his fan base. The fan base loves players here. The fan base comes out and sells this ballpark out. They love the Giants. They root for the Giants. But they also need players to fall in love with. And they didn't have that star power years ago. And I think this player right here, Luis Ariz, depicts that player that everybody wants to be here.
Right. And I just think that, unlike a lot of people, I feel that the lineup that we have right now is really pretty darn good. Mm-hmm. I think once we get the pitching in there, I think these guys are really doing well. You know, I'm not. No offense to Mr. Adames, but I'm not crazy about him. But it's not easy to get a good shortstop, so I don't think we should get rid of him. But we do have Schmidt playing third, and nothing against Chapman, but he just, I would love to see Schmidt take over third. To tell you the truth.
That's another thing that fans want to see too, and to see a 27-year-old compared to a 33-year-old, you can see the difference in age, and you see the spark of Schmidt. What can you say about Casey Schmidt? 21 home runs, 55 RBIs, one of his best years he's having. He's under control for the Giants. That's one player I keep reading the teams want. I would want him too if I was on another team. But don't give up on him. Even though you don't have a position for him, he's doing exactly what you wanted from the development side for Casey Schmidt. And I'm sure you saw this too. The first couple of years, he wasn't like he is now, but we've watched him develop into a big league hitter, and that's what we want to see out of young players.
Yeah, he's inspiring, really, absolutely. And, I just, I hope that Buster is able to make the right choice, and like you said, Ariz has showed an interest in staying with the Giants, and I think it's going to be a little punch in the gut if
I agree.
If they get rid of him for the team, to tell you the truth.
Well, next weekend we'll have a lot of things moving. In 8 days from today, August 3rd is the trade deadline, and it always goes down to that final day. But there's a lot of pieces that Buster's going to be moving, and we know a few of them. And I'm right there with you. I hope Luis Ariz stays as a Giant, and I'd love to see him get a nice 2 or 3 year contract so we can watch this miracle man be a professional hitter right in front of our eyes and take this team to a better spot. But on the business side, I hate to say it, Charlene, that's the business side of it, where you move somebody where you can get 2 or 3 good prospects and you don't lose out of them. But at the same time, I think we both agree we'd love to have them here.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much, Bill.
Charlene, call in more. You're a great little baseball fan. I love talking baseball with you, but thank you so much for calling in today. All right, we're going to take a quick break and bring on a good friend, Michael Monreal, because a nice job on X. He does a lot of things for the minor leagues. He's in San Jose watching the big plays of a couple nice young players that just got moved up from a rookie league to A-ball. And we're going to find out a little bit more about Michael. So we're going to bring him on next and talk more Giants baseball right here on the Extra Inning Postgame Show with Bill Laskey.
KNBR Extra Innings with Bill Laskey keeps the postgame rolling live right here.
Sponsored by Lenardi's Markets of the Bay Area. Quite simply, the best.
On KNBR 104.5 FM and 680 AM, the sports leader.
Back on KNBR with Bill Laskey. Giants win today 9-2. 9 runs, 11 hits for the Giants. 2 runs, 9 hits, and an error for the Angels. One more game tomorrow where the Giants could get their first sweep of a series. First pitch right here, 105. Carson Wisenhunt back from AAA, 2-0 with a 3.38 earned run average. Going against Jose Soriano, 8-6 with a 3.43 earned run average. Then the Milwaukee Brewers come in for a 3-game series before the Giants head to San Diego next weekend. My guest I've been following on X does a fantastic job covering the Giants from the minor leagues as well as to the big leagues. Let's bring in Michael Monreal. Michael, how are you today?
Hey, Bill. How you doing? Thanks for having me on.
Oh, appreciate you jumping on. And I got to ask you, are you in San Jose watching the Giants right now?
Yeah, I am. I saw Joshua Gonzalez get his first hit at low A, so that was pretty exciting. And Luis Hernandez made a good play himself. But, yeah, in San Jose right now.
Pretty exciting time there. It's probably a packed house as a couple of the prospects have moved up from Arizona to San Jose. What have you seen out of the crowd, and are they excited about these two youngsters?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. They clinged on to Joshua and Luis pretty quickly, knowing that they're the number 1 and number 2 prospects in the organization by consensus, I believe. So pretty exciting time to go out to a San Jose Giants game right now.
Michael Monreal is joining me. Of course, you can read his work. He's an MLB writer for Just BB Media, and you can follow him on X. Does a great job at BYM Monreal, Monreal. Michael, how did you fall in love with the Giants, and how did you fall into covering them?
Yeah, so, I grew up a Giants fan. I was raised a diehard Giants fan, even though I'm from the Central Valley, and my dad was a big Giants fan. So that's how I got into loving the team. And then, you know, I played college baseball, ended up getting hurt. So I turned to covering baseball and have completely fallen in love with it since, and found a newfound love for covering prospects. It's been a lot of fun this year.
And you've done a great job, Michael. I followed you through the draft, and right now the draft looks really solid for the Giants. A couple players have not signed. What are you excited about that you've seen that have signed?
Yeah, so it seems like right now they're only waiting on two more guys' decisions, Dalton Wentz and J.P. Robertson. But the guys that have signed, they did extremely well at the top of the draft, it seems like. Obviously, Jackson Flora with that 4th overall pick, just a perfect fit. Grew up a Giants fan, going to Giants games in the dynasty years. He fits their timeline. I'd say, give him a year or two to develop. He should be up relatively quick, and the stuff is near big league ready already. And then you look at Carson Bulleman, the guy who recently signed yesterday. Didn't have to pay too much for him in terms of going a ton over slot, which was pretty exciting. Saved them some money to possibly sign Dalton Wentz out of Wake Forest. But he's a guy who a lot of people had as the second best arm overall in the draft heading into this year's draft. So pretty exciting to potentially get, the number 1 and number 2 arms going into the draft in those two guys. And you look at the storyline with Peyton Bonds, he's a guy with a lot of upside. There are a few exciting picks later in the draft as well.
The other thing, too, Michael, is this the time where they do sign free agents where I know they have a little money left over, but a lot of guys are maybe seniors in college that really didn't get drafted, maybe invite them to spring training. I know back in the day we always had guys sign like that as a free agent where there's no down deposit, there's no signing bonus. Do you think that's going to happen here in the next couple of weeks?
Yeah, I think as of right now, they currently have 3 guys who have already signed as undrafted free agents. I believe a pitcher out of Stanford, I believe a shortstop out of Stony Brook. There's been a few of those, and I'm sure over the next few weeks we'll see a few more of those. Obviously, one of the Giants' top hitting prospects, Parks Harbor, was an undrafted free agent with the Yankees before he came over in that Camilo Doval deal last year. So we could see a few more of those over the next few weeks.
When you start looking at the development in the minor leagues, of course, Randy Wynn, Kyle Haynes have done a great job in the movement of it, player development. I always remember what Randy Wynn said, wins are great, but player development is what we're looking for. You've seen a lot of players be moved. How much do you like that, and how do you believe the Giants are building their minor leagues?
Yeah, I've thought they've done a really good job over the last year or two. It's been the best the system has looked, and I'd argue over a decade, maybe since the Buster Poseys, the Madison Bumgarners, when those guys came up 15 years ago. But it's been really fun to watch. A few of the top prospects in the system got moved up after the All-Star break. You look at guys like Dakota Jordan and Parks Harbor who have been promoted. I think the Giants have especially done a really good job with Dakota Jordan and Bo Davidson. Those are guys who had real hit concerns coming out of college. It looked like there was a lot of swing and miss in their profiles. But the Giants have really turned them around, and they look like they could be, a potential real future piece for the Giants in the next few years.
When you look at the overall picture of the draft, getting back to the draft, it seemed like the Giants wanted to overload on pitching. We know that. Pitching. It seems like every organization wants it. Were you surprised at this when they started picking a lot of pitchers by each slot and each pick, or were you thinking they were going to load up on other players?
I think they kind of took the route a lot of us expected them to. At least I expected them to. It was pretty clear that this farm system severely lacked pitching with high upside. Obviously, you have some guys like Carson Wisniewski and Trevor McDonald, but are those guys ever going to lead your staff like a Logan Webb or some of the aces we see in Major League Baseball? Probably not. So it was pretty exciting to see them load up on a few guys that could potentially become, ones or twos in rotations. And you don't draft for needs in Major League Baseball. Of course, you take the best player available. But I think they did a good job kind of combining those two tactics in this year's draft.
When you look at the minor leagues, Michael, I think they're rated 10th, if I'm not mistaken, and that's pretty good from where they were a couple years ago. What makes them better, and how do they progress to be in the top 5? What do they have to do to make that jump?
Yeah, so, number one is just seeing the guys that have, brought them in towards the top 10 of systems continue doing what they've been doing. Guys like Joshua Gonzalez, Luis Hernandez at the top of the system. Johnny Level's a guy who's had a very strong year with, low A and high A. And then seeing some of these guys that just got drafted, make their professional debuts at the end of this year or the start of next year. I think guys like Jackson Flora, Carson Bulleman, Caden Wachter, maybe a Peyton Bonds, and even a Dalton Wentz, who they're waiting to sign, who was drafted in the 16th round. Some of those guys, if they can get a strong start to their professional career, that'd be something that could absolutely move them towards what I think could potentially be a top 5 system in baseball at the year's end.
That voice you hear on the Extra Inning post-game show, Michael Monreal, does a great job on X. You got to follow him by BYM Monreal, and he does a lot of things that you want to read about in covering minor leagues as well as the big leagues. Do you follow fall ball? Do you do that in Arizona in like September, October when that opens up?
You talking about the Arizona Fall League?
Yes, sir.
Yes, yeah, I try to most of the time. There's a few guys in the Giants system who are there over the past few years, and there's some exciting names that find their way out there.
Yeah, it's pretty good baseball. Of course, it's a mixture of players. It's not the same teams. But I always thought, back in my day, we used to have fall ball where you brought in the top 30, 40 players in the organization. You ended up playing a lot of inter squads, and you played with a lot of other teams. But it gave you one-on-one instruction. And I think that's the other thing I like about that fall league. You have other coaches kind of helping you out in different parts of your game to improve it. Have you seen much of that? Have you been watching it?
Yeah, it seems like we sometimes see guys who, have dealt with injury or just not had the greatest years go to the fall league, and, they perform fine in the fall league. But then when the next season starts, whatever level they're at, it seems like they really flip a switch. And I do think part of that could be because they're hearing outside voices that they may not have heard, obviously within the organization. And it just seems like a chance for them to kind of tweak some things and find their footing without the pressure of, the real season.
Michael, let's jump to the big leagues. And, of course, 8 days from now, August 3rd, is the trade deadline. A lot of names in rumors, a lot of transactions that people are thinking about. What's your first big transaction? Who are you going to move first? And what are you looking to gain back?
Yeah, so the two obvious guys that are going to be dealt, I'd give them, about a 98% chance of getting traded are Robbie Ray and Luis Rise. And I know, a lot of fans love Luis Rise. I have very much enjoyed watching him with the San Francisco Giants. It just seems like the right player, wrong time with him, unfortunately. I don't see the Giants, extending him simply because of the fact that they have 3 long-term big money contracts within the infield already, and I don't see them going into another one. It's just unfortunate. And then Robbie Ray has really upped his trade value over the last few weeks, has been stellar for the Giants, and some of the underlying numbers may not look great, but I think any team is going to be excited to bring him into the rotation down the stretch. And then it'll just be what Buster Posey decides to do outside of that. I've heard a lot of people talk about Casey Schmidt, Elliot Ramos having a lot of value. I'm on the side that the only 2 untouchables on this team currently are Casey Schmidt and Bryce Eldridge. I think those are 2 guys you build around. But outside of that, I'm just really interested to see what moves Buster Posey decides to make, because there are a lot of different avenues he could go.
Now, of course, a couple of questions came my way today. What would you do with pitching? And, of course, with McDonald with a ligament tear, and you also have Birdsong, you got to develop some starting pitchers. And Carson Wisenhunt now is going to be pitching at the big leagues the rest of the year, which I'm really happy about. I think he's done his time in minor leagues, and he's progressed very well on the slider mix. The changeup's real filthy. The fastball's still not as high as we want it to be. But do you see Carson Wisenhunt being in his rotation next year?
Right now I do. Now, what happens in the off season, free agent signings, obviously that changes things. But I think you go through the next 2 months of the season, see what Carson Wisenhunt has to bring to the table. And even if there's going to be ups and downs, obviously it's his first real stint in Major League Baseball. But if he shows you enough where you think he could be, a serviceable 4 or 5 in a rotation, then you let him start the year in the rotation next year and see what he can do then. But yeah, I do think there's a lot of upside in Wisenhunt. I think there's still not an overpowering fastball in his arsenal, of course, but the velocity has been a little bit better this season, and he's been able to sustain it over the course of his starts better. So I do think that has, heightened his value for the Giants.
Michael, you talked about Elliot Ramos. There is a lot of structure in the outfield. There's a lot of good minor league outfielders. You talked about Jack Bo Davidson, and you got to look at Barracuda, who's really made a name for him in the time that he's been up here. Is that a serviceable name that Elliot Ramos could be moved? Do you think they would miss him? He's still under team control for a few years. He's only 26 years old. What do you think?
Yeah, I do think they can move Elliot Ramos and not necessarily feel it because of those names you mentioned. Victor Barracuda, it's been a small sample, but he showed some really exciting signs, and just the tools he has in his tool case are really exciting. And yeah, you look at, Bo Davidson that could be up, maybe at the end of this year, but by definitely at the beginning of next year. And you look at some of those names, Parks Harbor as well, even a Scott Bandura has been performing well in AAA. So there's a few names where I think they could give you similar production that Elliot Ramos has been giving you. And he's not a free agent until 2030. So I'm sure there are a handful of teams that would be willing to sign up for a guy who has shown the ability to hit. The defense has been poor, but shown the ability to hit at an above average level, and he could get you a decent return simply because of the fact that he has so many years of control.
Well, Michael, you're just under 60 games, the rest of the season. What would you like to see out of this Giants team moving forward at the big league level?
I think it's clear that they just need to play a cleaner brand of baseball. There's just too many mistakes. Maybe I know it's hard to have, full effort every game when you're this far under 500 and you're not playing for everything. But just see, Tony Vitello was supposed to be a guy that came in, brought a new energy into the clubhouse, a cleaner brand of baseball. And I just don't think we've necessarily seen that through the first few months of the season. So I think just cleaning up some of those small mistakes and just a much tighter game of baseball would be fun to see.
Well, Michael, it's a pleasure to have you on. We'll have to bring you on with a little bit more as the second half goes on. Enjoy the San Jose Giants game. And once again, thank you for your time today.
Yeah, absolutely, Bill. Thanks for having me on. Look forward to our next conversation.
Excellent. That was Michael Monreal. You can follow him on X at BYMMonreal, MONREAL. And you have to take a listen to what he does. He does a great job in prospects. He does a great job in following the Giants, and he gives a great attitude. He's got a good interview system when you look at what are the things he does at Just BB Media. Michael Monreal, thank you again. All right, coming up next, I sat down with a good friend of mine, played in the big leagues for 19 years. And, you start thinking about John Candelaria, the Candy Man, pitched with the Pirates, the Angels, the Mets, the Yankees. So many teams. 4 times he's pitched over 200 innings. Finished his career with 177 wins and 122 losses, a National League All-Star, a World Series champion. And on August 9th, 1976, he threw a no-hitter against the L.A. Dodgers. I sat down with John Candelaria, and that's coming up next right here on the Extra Inning Postgame Show on KNBR, the Sports Leader.
Bill is back.
Fired up, bringing it, all excited.
This is KNBR Extra Innings with Bill Laskey.
Sponsored by Lenardi's Markets of the Bay Area. Quite simply, the best.
Listen on your Google Home smart speaker by saying play KNBR.
Welcome back to the Extra Inning Postgame Show with Bill Laskey. I'm honored and really happy to bring my guest in. 19 years he pitched in Major League Baseball, a National League All-Star, a World Series champion with the Pittsburgh Pirates, and he also threw a no-hitter in 1976. Let's bring in John Candelaria. John, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing well, Bill. How are you doing today?
I'm doing. Thanks so much, John. I've talked to a few of your teammates, and nobody knows where you got the nickname Candyman, so you got to tell me where that came from.
I guess it started with my father. So we're Puerto Rican, so you would actually say my last name in Spanish as Candelaria. So they got candy from that.
That's a great one because I asked Madlock the other day. He goes, I don't know how I got his name. I don't know. We just called him Candyman. So it was pretty funny calling and talk to a couple of your teammates. Well, you grew up in Brooklyn, New York, way back when, of course, but you ended up going to Yankee games. And one of the things I wrote, read about you is you used to try to go into bleachers and double hitters and you paid 75 cents. Boy, that was a while ago. What was about the Yankee games that intrigued you?
I was a Mickey Mantle fan. Yeah, and 75 cents, you'd get 2 games when they had double headers back in the day. So, Mom make a sandwich and go with a couple of guys. We jump on the train and go from Brooklyn all the way up there in the Bronx. Watch 2 games.
Well, John, one of the things you loved to do was play basketball. You were really good at it in high school, and you were kind of 50-50 baseball to basketball, but you really wanted to play more basketball. Was that something you loved the game of?
I've always enjoyed the game of basketball. I think I would have been good in college. I don't know about the NBA, but I always thought I was better in baseball. So looking back, Bill, I made the right choice.
Well, I guess in high school, you ended up playing for a Puerto Rican basketball team, and the Pirates wanted to sign you. And Roberto Clemente, they brought Roberto in to say, hey, kid, come on, let's sign with the Pirates. How influential was he when he walked in to talk to you?
Oh, my mom and dad were there, right? And this man walked in, and we're all being Puerto Rican, the mother and father, their eyes lit up, and they thought Jesus had come into the room, okay? My mother was like, oh, my God, yeah. So, yeah, it was a wonderful thing, and it's the first time and the only time I met that gentleman, and that's the kind of humanitarian he was. He didn't know us from Adam or Eve or whoever, and he helped us out. That's just the kind of person he was.
Well, I love the phrase where your parents were talking to him in Spanish, and the Pirate scout was trying to sign you for a different number, and he said, no, do this, do that, and the next thing you know, you signed for a higher incentive bonus, and that had to make you proud of Roberto talking to your parents. And again, behind the scenes in Spanish, you make the deal.
Actually, Bill, it was the general manager. We were in Joe Brown's office, a man I loved when I got to know him, but just wonderful man. He was the GM at the time. And Roberto was talking English at first to all of us, and then he said to the general manager, do you mind if I speak to our countrymen in Spanish? And Mr. Brown said no, and that's when Roberto said, they'll give your son $40,000. Don't take this offer. So
and
yeah,
it worked.
It was kind of cool.
It worked.
Yeah.
And you ended up getting drafted in the second round with the Pirates. You signed with them. And you're a young kid. You're coming out of high school, going through the minor leagues. Was there an adjustment? Was there fear? Did you think you could, do this right out of high school?
I wasn't sure because I got invited the couple of months later to Major League Camp. And just to see Stargell and Oliver and all these guys, Richie Zisk, Bob Robbins, I mean, they're hitting balls in Bradenton on top of the roof and things, and I'm going, oh, yeah, wonderful. I got to pitch of people like this. But I didn't doubt my ability. Let's find out where this can go, just like anyone else.
And it did really well. In June of 1975, you come up after really throwing well in AAA 7-1, and you come up to the big leagues. And now you look in that that clubhouse, and you're seeing all these future Hall of Famers, and they're looking at a young kid at 21 years old going, okay, you're going to come up here and pitch in the big leagues. There's always a nervous part of it, anxiety. There's always that type of thought in your head. But you're still young. You didn't really know much about the big leagues. What did you think about coming in that clubhouse?
I really didn't think much. I just thought, I pitched well. Let's try and help the team out, and let's try and stay here, and don't do bad and be sent back down.
Yeah, well, you did very well. You're 1975, 8-6 with a 2.7 earned run average through 120 innings. Everything went well. You even threw a shutout. Some of the things you had to learn about the game your first year, some about the hitters you had to face. What was it, some of the things the catchers tried to make you understand?
Well, I had Sanguine at the time, and our lockers were more or less next to each other, and he'd always talk to me and help me out, and Sangy did a tremendous job with that, and I'm grateful to Manuel for that.
John Candelaria joining me on the Extra Inning post-game show. Of course, we nicknamed the Candy Man. I loved it back in the day. You ended up throwing in the NLCS that year against the Reds. You pitched a great game, going 8 innings, 14 strikeouts. The Big Red Machine, boy, they had a lot of good hitters. You got in a zone. What were some of the pitches you were throwing that day?
Well, just basically faster, but made a mistake to walk the guy, and Rose hurt me with a home run. But that walk was the damage that was done. Kicked myself over that one. We actually lost that game in extra innings, but they were great. I mean, the whole infield was Hall of Fame, except Concepcion, and he was a 9-time All-Star. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, never mind George Foster out there lurking in left field.
Yeah, the Big Red Machine came at you, and boy, you punched out 14 and 8 innings, so you were dialed in. Of course, being tall, you and I were both tall pitchers, but you were taller. You were 6'7", and Pete Rose has got arms and legs coming all at you. But you snuck a good fastball in there in the low 90s, mid 90s. You had a sharp breaking ball. Right-handers had a hard time hitting off you, John. What were some of the thoughts you had going against right-handers?
I didn't treat them any different than anyone else. They said I had a good fastball back in the day. I guess we all did when we were young. But yeah, just keep the ball out of the middle of the plate. That's you find out quickly how good these guys are, and it doesn't matter who's hitting where in the lineup. Everyone's got a bat in the hand, and they can hurt you. Make your pitches and trust your fielders. It's the big leagues. They'll make the plays. They'll make the plays.
Yeah. Well, when you look at your career, 4 times you threw over 200 innings and a couple times in the 230s. Extension, going deeper in the game, thinking about that. We never thought of pitch count back then. You always wanted to complete a game. That was our mindset as starters. Every time you went out there, that was your thought, correct? And what was your way of getting through it?
That was my thought. Take the game inning by inning and go as far and deep as I could to help the team. And yeah, Sandy Koufax said it best. I thought a quality start is when I shook the catcher's hand after the game.
I like that one.
Yeah, he's a wonderful man too. I enjoyed Mr. Koufax.
Well, in 1976, at 22 years old, you go 16-7, 220 innings, as we talk about. But something happened in that year, and it all happened on August 9th, 1976. And you did it at Three Rivers Stadium. You faced the Dodgers, and a lineup that was pretty solid. Lopes, Sizemore, Russell, Garvey, Say, Baker. It was one after another. But that day was something special. And what was really cool about that day, I looked at, John, 1 hour and 45 minutes, that was it. And you ended up throwing a no-hitter. A no-hitter is so difficult. Some things just have to happen. A certain play, a certain pitch. What was it that day that just made it so special for you?
If I knew, I would have bottled it and kept it for all the 19 years. But, things just fell right into place. The Dodgers were actually on a losing streak at the time. They're not playing well. So, I caught them when they weren't hitting at the right time. So, and things fell into place. And I thought I lost it with 2 outs in the ninth when there was a little bloop. Russell hit one between center and shortstop, but I'm like, oh no, these two are going to collide and I'm going to lose it that way. But Al caught it and it worked out well.
Well, in 1977, one of your best years, you finished 20-5, 2.34 earned run average, 230 innings that year. And you ended up going to the All-Star game, and this had to have been special for you because it was back at Yankee Stadium. And you walk into a locker room just filled with superstars, full of Hall of Famers now that are in the Hall of Fame. Something that you were really, made because you were pitching so well that year. What are your thoughts going into that clubhouse? What was that anxiety and what was the excitement about it because you're back at Yankee Stadium?
And when I grew up there in Brooklyn, I had a bunch of friends there. But the best thing I remember, and I never got the picture, I wound up asking Mr. DiMaggio and Mr. Mantle, and I stood between them. Some photographer took a picture, and I told them, please give me your name and VIN number so I can get this picture, and I never got it. And then I wish it. Yeah, Mantle and DiMaggio. Man, it would have been cool to have that, but someone has it, and I wish I did.
Well, the thing about it, John, you remember that when you were a kid, going out to the bleachers. Those are the guys you watched. Those are the guys that made you love baseball. Was there a certain pitcher that you idolized coming up?
Oh, Seaver.
Was it?
Oh, without a doubt. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was the man in our neighborhood, and I enjoyed. We hooked up with each other a bunch of times, and I was glad I could keep close with him. What a wonderful pitcher.
Well, John, in 19 years, fantastic career. And as I said, we're both tall pitchers. You only committed 11 errors on the mound, a fantastic career in defense. And really, your rookie year in 1975, you committed 4 in that year. So when you're thinking all the rest of the years, you were pretty good with the glove as well as making those throws. Something you worked on your whole career?
11 errors. I don't remember making that many. I remember throwing a couple in the right field after a couple of bunts trying to get someone at first, but I don't remember that many.
Yeah.
But we will work on PFP and spring training, and I mean, if you can, you help yourself. I mean, that's part of the game. You got a glove on. That's what I'm there for.
Well, but John, being left-handed, and as I said, how tall you were, you came off the mound to the right side. So a lot of times covering first base, you had to make that 360 and hustle over to first base. But again, being tall, you were pretty quick on the mound. Was that something also that you were always thought of and something you were worried about at times?
No, Bill, there was a couple of times that, as you said, I'd fall to the right side and someone beat me to first, and Chuck Tanner wasn't not thrilled about it and let me know that the next time I don't get over there, he's going to find my posterior, okay? So my next start, I've got pitching against St. Louis, and I got Vince Coleman, Willie McGee, Ozzie Smith, and they had a kid, David Green, who played center field, and he might have been faster than all of them. And he hit one to the right side, and I'm falling down actually to my left side, and I'm like, oh crap, and I'm flying as fast as I can over there to first base, and David's running up my back, right? And I turn around, he was out, and I turn around, and half the team in the dugout is laughing except Chuck. Okay?
Yeah, of course.
So it's a third out, and I go down there. And he just looks at me and goes, now that I know that you can get over to first base, next time you're not there, I'm going to double that fine.
Well, let's talk a little bit about Chuck Tanner, but I want to go to Ray Miller, your pitching coach, a fabulous pitching coach for many years with the Pirates. What did he do to enhance your career?
I only had Ray in my last year in 93, okay? So I wasn't there that long, but Ray was, I had heard so much about Ray, and he was a good pitching coach. I didn't get that, as I said, I didn't get that much time with Ray, but his reputation preceded him.
Well, the whole team, and when you look at 1979 when the Pirates won the World Series, Chuck Tanner was the guy. He was the communicator. He was the leader. Everybody enjoyed playing for him. What was it about that with Chuck that everybody just glorified him and wanted to bust their tail for him?
No, that's why everybody, he was as they say, he was a player's manager. You screw up, he'd pat you on the back, and sometimes he'd get you in the office, and he'd leave it alone. Grudge.
Mm-hmm.
He was just good that way, and as he'd keep one eye open on. He knew what was going on, and sometimes we had guys in the clubhouse. We policed each other as well, and Chuck just let it go, and that's why everyone, more or less, would go through a wall for Chuck. And he was a good manager on top of it. He knew the game. He made the right moves.
Well, as we finish up with John Candelaria, something you said, life is to enjoy. It's a mystery to be lived, but not a problem to be solved. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Who knows? From day to day. I mean, tomorrow's not promised to anyone, so enjoy it while you can.
And that was that's pretty much how life is, John. And boy, you
don't take it for granted.
Yeah, you look back at your career, 19 years. What was one of the best memories you can tell me?
Playing with the Pirates back in the day, from 75 to about 80. It was just a joy. There was about 3 or 4 years. I was the youngest guy on team for a while. And the veterans, they took good care of me. I'm grateful to all of them for helping me understand and love the game.
Well, John, it was great catching up with you. A great career. You and I had many battles at Candlestick and Three River Stadium, but man, it was great watching you pitch back in the day. And I just want to thank you for your time today.
You're quite welcome, and you be well, and may the wind be at your back.
That was John Candelaria on the Extra Inning Postgame Show. More coming up right here on KNBR, the Sports Leader.
The game may be over, but we know you want to talk more ball. So KNBR Extra Innings with Bill Laskey continues.
Sponsored by Lenardi's Markets of the Bay Area. Quite simply, the best.
We are KNBR 104.5 and 6.8, the sports leader.
Welcome back to the Extra Inning postgame show as we close out a Saturday. Giants win today, 2 games in a row against the Angels as they win 9-2 at Oracle Park. They'll play one more game tomorrow to see if they'll get their first sweep of the year against the Angels. Carson Wisenhunt takes the mound tomorrow. First pitch right here on KNBR at 1:05. I want to thank my guest today, Michael Monreal. If you didn't hear that, you can hear it at the All KNBR podcast. Did a great job in talking about the prospects coming up for the San Francisco Giants. I want to thank my producer today, Kyle Haar, produced a great show, and I want to thank you, Giants fans, for calling in. We'll do it again tomorrow as the Extra Inning postgame show follows up the Sunday game. Wally Joyner joins me for a great conversation. He had a great career with the California Angels. Have a great Saturday night. We'll have more coming up right here on KNBR